This week on the Digital Coffee, there's a new style of LinkedIn post and it looks kind of familiar. There's lots of new features for Reels, both on Instagram and on Facebook, and Meta advertising AI goes large. What does that mean? Find out after this. Good morning, and welcome to the Digital Coffee. This is your weekly dose of digital marketing and social media news for small business. My name is Amanda Webb. I am an ROI mentor and consultant. What does that mean? That means I help businesses like yours get more return on investment, more profits from their marketing that they do online. You're very welcome. I can see we've got some viewers here already. We have Katie Simpson over on LinkedIn this time. It's always great to see that somebody on LinkedIn, because sometimes the comments function doesn't work there and I panic. So good morning, Katie. Great to see you here. And to Howard Howie, who is on YouTube, just drinking water. Now, Howie has preempted my question because I am grasping this coffee cup that is sadly empty, because I'd love to know what you're drinking. This is our time to have our digital coffee or tea or hot chocolate or glass of water together. So let me know what's in your mug. Good morning to Deirdre. Great to see you here. Great to see you. And good morning to Lee. I can see there's loads more of you arriving. Wow, I'm feeling popular today. Good morning. Watching from the Holiday Inn in Dublin, where I've actually spent 2 days with Lee this week, and it's been fantastic. It's been great drinking green tea because you've drunk some too much coffee for some reason. Yes, we may have had quite a lot of coffee. Good morning to Melanie with a cup of coffee right now. Great. And to a new viewer, Zaki. Am I saying your name right? You'll have to let me know. Thanks for joining us. Now we do have Andrea, great to see you here. Coffee is a popular choice today, and unusually Lee is drinking green tea, who would normally be on the coffee. But there you have it. There you have it. I do have a lot of news for you today, but before I move on to that, if you use Twitter and if you want to chat about these topics in more detail, even if you want to disagree with what I say, which is totally fine, come over to Twitter at 10:30 a.m. and join our Twitter space, which is basically like an audio chat room, a bit like Clubhouse if you've ever used that. You'll see a tweet pinned to the top of my profile. I'm at Spiderworking there. And if you're on desktop, you can just click and listen. If you're on mobile, you can click and listen, or you can ask to speak and join the conversation as well. And I host that with my amazing co-host, who sometimes doesn't agree with me, May King Sang. So hopefully we'll see some of you over there at 10:30. It's the tweet that is pinned to the top of my profile if you want to join in.
Hi, I'm Carol Phillips from Laguna Beach, California, and I'm here watching Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb. Hi!
Sometimes when you want to post on social media, you just have that quick snap of a thought thinking, I need to share this right now. And back in the old days of social media, that's all we did. That's all we did. But now, if you do that, if you just put in a couple of lines of text, it's very easy for people to scroll past that, particularly on networks like LinkedIn. And I'm mentioning that for a reason. You know, it can get lost. It's a very big scroll past. So instead, what we have to do, we create an image or we create a video, and we spend hours working on the copy, hours might be exaggerating, making sure that that first line is enticing enough that people will want to read on. So much work, and particularly on LinkedIn, where LinkedIn, you know, there's an expectation, I think, almost on LinkedIn that you have to write a long post. You can't just throw out a rough idea, but not anymore, because LinkedIn is introducing a new style of post. Here it is. They're calling them templates, post templates. Look familiar? Does that look familiar to anyone? Looks very much like those updates on Facebook, text on a coloured background. And what it is, you put in your small amount of text. You can choose a background for it, and you can choose a text style, and then you can post it. Just like that, your short, snappy update is suddenly more eye-catching and harder to scroll past, which I think is good news. I don't think everything should be a long post on LinkedIn. One of the things that I'll go, oh no, well, I'm not going to click that because I have to read for too long. This way we can introduce short updates alongside those big ones. So I think it's really good. Very Facebooky. But I think this is good news in general, and it means that you will be able to share those short, snappy updates without having to put in all that extra work. So what do you think? Would you use this update? Is it a good thing that it's happening on LinkedIn, or is it just more of LinkedIn becoming more like Facebook and less fun for the LinkedIn traditionalists? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. I can see we've got a comment from Howard Howie there. The world would be so boring if everyone agreed with each other. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm always happy, everything I say is, well, I've read articles, but it's an opinion. So I'm always interested to hear what other people have to say. Okay, let me know what you think about that LinkedIn one. Let's move over.
I'm Esther.
And I'm Melanie.
From the Monday Morning Marketing Podcast.
And you're watching the Digital Coffee
with Amanda Webb.
Instagram is just throwing new Reels features around, batting them around, rolling them out like mad, aren't they? I mean, if there's any doubt that they're completely committed to the platform, that has to be gone, because this week, Adam Mosseri, I'm going to stick with that pronunciation, announced 3 new updates to Reels. The first one is the Add Your sticker. Now, you may have seen this on Instagram stories if you're an Instagram user. It's kind of a cool sticker. You could put up, say, a picture of your desk, a deskie, I think they're called, deskie. You could put up a picture of your desk and put an Add Your sticker as a prompt, enticing other people who see that story to share their own photos of their desk. So they would click on that, and that the Add Your sticker gets added to those. And that's kind of cool, because you can click then onto that and you can click through all the pictures of people's desks that have been shared. It's a way to kind of expand your reach as the creator, to join in, because when you join in, you're also expanding your reach. And it's also a nice way to kind of stay on a theme that people might be interested in, a bit like binging Netflix. So they're adding this now to Reels, which I think will be even better, because there are, you could it would be like binging Netflix, one after another after another. It could be great for challenges and competitions, or it could be just good to push out some brand awareness. It will always link back to the originator as well. So if you start something that goes well, you've got that opportunity to hook new people in. So that's feature number 1. What is feature number 2, Amanda? I don't know. I will have to consult my notes. Can you believe that this isn't already a feature? That's kind of what I was like. You will now be able to cross-post your Reels from Instagram to Facebook, which we can already do with our stories, which we can already do with the feed. So this is good, because at the moment I know lots of people are a little bit confused. There's Reels on Facebook, there's Reels on Instagram. Do I have to go and upload it to Facebook separately? Until now, yes, you did. But now the whole thing is going to cross post, which means you don't have to do less work. And also you'll get the social proof from both social networks in one place. Which brings me to update number 3. Update number 3 is that you're going to be able to get more in detail statistics for your Facebook Reels. So if you are cross-posting from Instagram, you'll be able to see the impact that has compared to if you upload something separately to Facebook. Be interesting to see how much detail we can see here, which means I am going to have to go and create a reel on Facebook to find out. But more stats, more data, keep an eye on it, and it will give you something to analyze in the future. So I think that's good. This isn't even the end of the Reels updates. No, I've got another one later on relating specifically to Facebook Reels. So stay tuned for that. Good morning to Ginny. She says, Reels updates sounds good. And about time too. Yeah, absolutely. For some of those, it's just unbelievable to me that you can only now cross-post from Instagram to Facebook when you could do everything else from Instagram to Facebook. That seems a little bit bizarre, doesn't it? But anyway, we can do it now. So thank you. I could rant on about Reels for ages. So I won't, will I? I won't, no.
Hello, this is Nicole from Wonderstars, and you are watching Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
You know what? Teenagers absolutely love YouTube. They love YouTube way more than they love TikTok. Unbelievably. According to some new research from Pew, and this is really fascinating, 95% of teens say they use YouTube, and 1 in 5 of the teens that they interviewed said they use YouTube almost constantly. Which is, I don't know why I find it surprising. I knew teens used YouTube, but I thought it was all about the TikTok for them. TikTok does come in second, but significantly below. Let's just get this little chart up. Significantly below, with only 67% of teens, 95% using YouTube, 67% of teens using TikTok. Instagram isn't far behind. 62% of teens use Instagram. So that whole, either Instagram is winning the battle with their reels, or our whole thought that Instagram is not as popular with teenagers. It's only a minor difference. So YouTube, top of the rung. But what's really interesting, I think, is if you look at this chart over here, there's a dark blue line, kind of starts where my finger is here, and kind of takes a downward trajectory at an alarming rate. That is Facebook. I don't think that is surprising to anyone. We know, Facebook isn't where teens hang out. But I did find it interesting that almost a third of teenagers say they use Facebook. Now, that is way more than I would thought, because I know people have been talking about Facebook being in decline for teens for years. So I'm actually surprised that a third of teens use Facebook. And 2% of those, only 2% of those say they use it only almost constantly. So, I mean, that's not a surprise really. But I do find the fact that they've still got Facebook accounts very interesting indeed. So what does this mean for businesses? Number one, I think Facebook is just going to be that platform everyone has forever. They might not look at it very often, but it is kind of their base social network. I could be wrong about that, but I've been saying it for a while and I'm still not wrong. That doesn't mean they're going to look at your post, but I think it's important for you to have a Facebook page where you got all your information updated. The second thing is, if teens are in your target market, obviously there's a whole lot of stuff you have to be careful about there, particularly, if they're under 13. You can't be targeting them on social media. They shouldn't even be there. But even then, there's a lot of things. But if you were just thinking TikTok, I think it's time to look at YouTube. And specifically, look at your main YouTube videos, but also look at those shorts, because that could be a good place to capture a teenage audience, because it's very similar to TikTok. It's very similar to Reels. So all interesting stuff there. I'll post a link to the full study in the comments later on. Making is as surprised as me. A third of teens, well, they don't love Facebook. I think maybe that's exaggerating. They use it, a third of teens. Good morning to Catherine. Great to see you here. Thank you for joining us. Cup of strong coffee. Well, it is Friday. I think strong coffee. I can't even say it. Let's start that again. I can't even say it because I haven't had my coffee yet. Ginny says that her daughter is 21 and she has a Facebook account that she set up for university. Yeah, as there were some groups there that she needed to access. I don't think she uses it regularly. She does still use the Snapchat and Be Real. I'm on Be Real, by the way, if anyone wants to find me. I have like 2 followers, just to mention that. Just trying it out, see what happens. Your teens love YouTube. Yeah, I think YouTube, Andrea, I think YouTube is the one, really. And when you think about it, it just makes sense to me. When I was a kid, I watched TV. I think kids now watch YouTube. That's kind of the thing, isn't it? I'm trying to work out what button I'm supposed to connect. I'm just going to connect. If you've seen this one already, I do apologise.
Hi, Sasha Lydia from Think Outside the Bot, and you're watching the Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
The Snapchat subscription service, Snapchat Plus, is doing quite well. It's got 1 million subscribers now. It only launched 6 weeks ago. Now, I know 1 million doesn't really sound huge in the world of billions of social media accounts, but 1 million, that's not bad. In fact, they think it's good because they've announced it. They say we've now got 1 million Snapchat Plus subscribers. So it does show that, with adding these new features and getting exclusivity, there is a market there for subscription services. I mean, it has rolled out to a lot more regions than Twitter Blue. So I think, again, Twitter could take a leaf out of Snapchat's book with this. We can even get it in Ireland if we so wish, but I don't even use Snapchat, let alone Snapchat Plus. When they announced this, they also announced some new features that are going to be Snapchat Plus exclusive, including, I'm going to call this the stalker button. I'm exaggerating, but what you will be able to do if you subscribe to Snapchat Plus is that when you comment on your favorite creator or celebrity's post, your comments will be more visible. And by more visible, they mean what's going on. I'm trying to point in the right direction. What's going on here, which is, if you look on the right hand side, there's some comments that have like a yellow button and some that have a blue. The yellow button will be Snapchat Plus users, which could be good for your general user. Could also be good for businesses. If there's a particular business you want to connect with and they get lots of comments, yours will get noticed a little bit more. If there's a creator, it's a good way to help build relationships. Do not use it to spam people, but it's a really good way to build relationships with them. But of course, this could end up being like the Ryanair priority queue. For those of you that know how much I love Ryanair, if everyone buys priority, the priority queue ends up being longer than the regular queue. And that could happen with Snapchat Plus as well. Even if they get enough subscribers, this highlighting your comment thing, everyone's comment's going to be highlighted. So it kind of shows that they're not after millions of users, but it is a really interesting update. I'm just seeing with still comments coming in about YouTube and young people. I think YouTube is more accessible on devices without an account. This is true, actually, very true. So they don't even have to be 13. I wouldn't want to be a parent in these days. Teens on Facebook, likely there because they're family and specific groups. Yeah, absolutely. But you have to hand it to Facebook. They've done something to encourage that. The groups thing does seem to be the main way that people use Facebook now. So I can see it there. I did, when I was at this now infamous Billie Eilish gig that I was at where everyone was a teenager, there were a few people talking about, I messaged you that on Facebook, which at the time I thought was kind of weird, but it makes sense to me now. It all makes sense to me now.
This is Making Sang, first name Making, from the Firma Creator, and you have been watching The Digital Coffee Show with Amanda Webb.
More good news for social media managers or for businesses who have to produce and create content themselves. It's back to Reels, but this time we're talking about Facebook Reels. Facebook has just rolled out the ability to schedule Reels just to Facebook, not to Instagram, using Creator Studio. So now you can go in, you can set up your reel, you upload your reel. It allows you to edit it, but the only editing is to crop it into that vertical format so that it suits Reels properly. Then you can add your caption and you can post it. Simple, effective, but there are some downsides. First downside is you can't add any Reels features. So there's no stickers, there's no filters, there's nothing that you can add in to make your video more Reels like, which means it could end up being a little bit bland and boring when people click into it. I would love to see that at this point, that you could actually create within the app. I mean, they do call it Creator Studio. Oh, by the way, if you don't have Creator Studio, because this is on desktop, they have been asking people to switch over to Meta Business Suite. You can also do it there. You can do it in both places because I found it in both. So it's an interesting one. What worries me about all of these updates to Reels is that, particularly the one they launched a little while ago where every video is now a reel, it means there are a lot more reels out there, which is obviously what these platforms want. But it also means there's a lot more poor quality. When I do a trailer for this show, it ends up being a reel now. And I don't really want that because that's not in the style of reel and it's not interesting to people, maybe. So I do worry that we're going to get a lot of low quality reels. in the feed, which will mean eventually they are going to lose that magical effect of having more reach. On the other hand, if you create an interesting reel and if you edit it off platform, this will be really handy because you can schedule it in advance. And if it's a good reel, it's going to stand out amongst all the boring ones that Instagram or Facebook have decided are reels and really aren't. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I don't know, Amanda. Does that make sense? Whew, what's next?
Hi, I'm Danielle from Redbow, and you're watching The Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
Now, if you aren't creating ads on Facebook or in Meta Ads Manager on a regular basis, when you go there, I know it can be totally overwhelming. You're just looking at what looks like some sort of chart or graph and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? And they used to have this quick creation thing that was quite straightforward, but that's gone. And now everything just seems so complicated to create. You have to create your campaign, your ad sets and your audiences and how many different, and it's asking me to do this. I know it can be a head wreck. But over the last few years, Facebook has been working on more AI, artificial intelligence, to help optimize the ads that people create there, which means that some of those processes are no longer necessary. And with the new Advantage Plus, they're calling it, I just had to look to check because that seems like, a catalogue or something. It doesn't, or a pension plan or something, doesn't it? It doesn't sound. Anyway, with new Advantage Plus, this is a whole AI driven way of creating ads that should make the whole process easier for people who aren't ad experts. So basically, the artificial intelligence is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. In fact, Advantage Plus is there already for some users. It already does this. So it does things like it optimizes your creative. So if you upload a photograph, it will optimize it for an individual user. It might change the contrast of the photograph or the framing of the photograph user by user. So no two people or no specific two people will see the same version of your ad. But what it's going to do now is it will mix up the rest of your creative. So it will mix up the stuff that you put in the caption at the top of your ad and it with the description text, for example, again, optimizing it for the user. Maybe they know that this user responds to shorter copy and this one responds to longer copy. So it will mix it up for those too. It will also start honing your audiences. It will be able to create AI-driven audiences based on the activities of people who engage with your pages, both on Facebook and Instagram. Audience creation is still possibly the hardest part of Facebook ads. So that's good news. And finally, the newest update is that you will soon, in some regions, of course, probably not Ireland, be able to connect it to your catalogue. So if you've got an e-commerce store, it can automatically from that catalogue create hundreds of versions of your ads so that the right one is showing to the right person. This is going to save not just business people or people that don't know how to create ads, but also even people who are creating ads for clients so much time. Because at the moment, what a lot of people do is they'll create different audiences and split test them. They'll create different versions of the creative. You have to put them all out there, monitor them, switch some on, switch some off. Some people are still doing that. And soon the AI will do it all for you. It's very similar. Google have a lot of AI in their ads as well. And the results that Facebook are showing is that you are going to get, or in the test that they've done, you are going to get a lot lower cost per purchase. It could kind of negate some of the downside that we've seen since Apple made their privacy update and Facebook ads targeting became a lot harder. Now, I know that's all very technical, so do come over to the Twitter space later on, the extra shot, to talk about it a little bit more. Advantage Plus sounds like a mobile phone tariff. Yeah, it does. It's a terrible name. Terrible name, Facebook. Come on, sort yourself out.
I'm Ant McGinley, and you're watching The Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
Instagram has an agenda. Its agenda is that it wants more engaged users. It wants more engaged users, in its own words. She gets her glasses out. Anecdotally speaking, users who stay engaged keep finding newer sources of interest to follow. So that's what they want. They want more engaged users, and the way to get it is for them to, more interest to follow by throwing those recommended posts into your feed. You know, those recommended posts that people have been complaining about because they're seeing less from their friends and they're seeing more recommendations. Yep, that's what they want to do. Now, their dream is to make those recommended posts so good, so on topic for you, so relevant to you that you won't even notice they're not coming from your friends. And we know they've been failing at that a little bit. But this week they described how the algorithm works to choose those specific posts that you see on Instagram that you didn't ask for. To summarize it, it's really complicated. It's really complicated. So I'm just going to tell you a few kind of key points from the article. Firstly, we know this already. It looks at your activity on Instagram. What accounts do you follow? What content do you engage with? And actually for Reels, I find this is fantastic because the algorithm knows that I like cats. So it shows me lots of Reels of cats. It works perfectly. So that's the first thing we know about. We know this. We know the more cat things I like, the more cats I'm going to see in my feed. The second bit is really interesting. So it's no longer just based on you. It's based on the people that you follow. So it will also look at maybe the people you follow and the people you engage with the most. What are they? What's their activity on Instagram? What are they liking and engaging with? And they bring all this data together and they'll choose lots of posts that they could possibly put into your recommendations based on all of this. Way too many, more than they ever need. And then they will narrow that down to find the ones that they feel are going to be most suitable for you, that you're going to be most interested in. And that's how you see a recommendation. It's a more complicated algorithm than any of that. You know, if you look through the article, there's lots of spreadsheets and charts and things that will show you how it works. Basically, it's a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning again that is doing this, and they haven't quite got it right as far as I can see, but they are getting there. What do you see when you see recommended posts? Are they relevant to you? What can we learn as a business from this? If we post content that is relevant to the interests of our audience, that is on topic, that is bang on topic, we will have the opportunity to appear in the feeds of the people that are most interested in that. That is how this is going to be for us. So make sure, no more posting cat pictures, Amanda, like I do that anyway. Keep it on topic for my audience. Make sure I'm talking about the things they're interested in, and they will see my posts and they might follow me. Not on Instagram though, because I don't do much there. Good morning, Lee. All I can say that there is a lot of my friends must like watching stuff about, I should put the inside of aeroplanes. I don't know how you see a lot of inside of aeroplanes, Lee. I don't know what you're doing on Instagram or who you're following on Instagram. Maybe it's the whole travel thing. I don't know. That's really interesting. And actually, when I was with Lee, we were looking at different Instagram accounts because there's obviously a business account and a personal account there. And the difference between the posts that you see in each is it does tell you something, doesn't it, about the person that owns that account. That is it for the Digital Coffee for this week. Don't forget, 10:30 a.m. over on Twitter. I'm at Spiderworking. You will see pinned to the top of my profile a link to the Twitter space that we host there. Or if you follow me already, it should come up in your top bar on your mobile phone. I'd love to see you here if you want to talk about any of these stories in more detail. I feel like that Pew Research story is going to be the most interesting one. So do come over at 10:30. Join myself and Making Sang, super co-host. I will see you there. And if you don't come there, I see we got comments. I'm just going to throw this in. Instagram want to make our interest boring. More of the same, I think. And that will backlash. Thank you for sharing this. Right, so see you there. If I don't see you there, I will be back, same bat time, same bat place next week. Until then, bye-bye.